Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything. You guys watch the video and feel it, then let's evaluate together. The executive boardroom at Apex Airlines headquarters in Seattle buzzed with the low hum of anticipation. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a jaw-dropping view of the Cascade Mountains, their peaks dusted with snow under a rare April sun. Inside, the room was all sleek modernity, glass table gleaming under recessed lights, leather chairs squeaking as suits shifted in their seats, and the faint scent of coffee wafting from a carafe in the corner. It was the quarterly customer experience review, and the air crackled with the kind of tension you'd feel before a big game or a firing squad. Patricia Pat Larson, the chief customer officer, stood at the front, her navy blazer crisp as she clicked through a PowerPoint slide. Her auburn hair was swept into a low bun, and her voice carried the practiced calm of someone who dodged boardroom bullets before. Our first-class service on transcontinental routes is holding strong at a 92% satisfaction rate, she said, gesturing to a bar graph glowing on the screen. That's well above the industry average, thanks to teams like the one we've got here today. She nodded toward the back of the room, where 3 flight attendants sat in a neat row: Lauren Hayes, Miles Carter, and Tara Evans. Lauren, the lead, sat ramrod straight, her blonde hair pulled into a tight ponytail, her navy uniform adorned with silver pins that screamed authority. Miles, a wiry guy with a buzz cut, leaned back with a faint smirk, his arms crossed like he'd already won something. Tara, quieter, fidgeted with her name tag, her dark eyes darting around the room. They were the poster kids for Apex's premium service, or so they thought. Pat's smile tightened as she continued. Lauren's team has been a bright spot, and she's here to share their approach. Lauren, why don't you come up? Lauren stood, smoothing her skirt with a confidence that filled the space. She strode to the podium, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor, and flashed a smile that could have sold toothpaste. Thank you, Pat, she said, her voice smooth as silk. At Apex Airlines, we believe first-class service starts the second a passenger steps on board. We're trained to spot our premium travelers, the ones who expect and deserve a certain level of care. It's about details, how we greet them, how we keep the cabin exclusive. The heavy oak door at the back of the room swung open with a soft creak, cutting her off mid-sentence. Every head turned, a ripple of curiosity breaking the flow. A woman stepped inside, 34, blonde hair tucked under a black baseball cap, dressed in a dark gray sweatshirt and light gray sweatpants. Her sneakers squeaked faintly on the polished floor, and a simple silver bracelet glinted on her wrist. To the suits in the room, she looked like she'd wandered in from a gym, not a corporate meeting. Lauren faltered, her smile twitching. Sorry, ma'am. I think you've got the wrong room. She's exactly where she needs to be. A voice interrupted, deep and steady, slicing through the confusion like a hot knife. Ethan Caldwell stood from his seat at the head of the table, all 6'1" of him commanding the space without effort. At 38, he was the billionaire tech whiz who'd bought Apex Airlines 9 months ago, his navy suit tailored to perfection, his dark hair flecked with gray at the temples. His steel blue eyes locked onto Lauren, then softened as they shifted to the woman in the cap. This is my wife, Harper Quinn Caldwell. The room froze, a collective gasp sucking the air out of it. Lauren's tablet slipped an inch in her grip, her manicured nails scrambling to catch it. Miles's smirk vanished. his arms dropping like dead weight. Tara's eyes widened, her fingers freezing mid-fidget. Around the table, board members and execs exchanged stunned glances. Pat's hand stalled halfway to her hair. A VP's coffee cup hovered mid-sip, and a junior analyst's pen clattered to the floor. Harper stepped forward, her posture relaxed, but her hazel eyes sharp under the brim of her cap. She stopped beside Ethan, hands in her sweatshirt pockets, the silver bracelet catching a glint of sunlight. "Some of you met me yesterday," she said, her voice calm but carrying a quiet edge. "On Flight 415 from Seattle to Philly. First class, seat 2A. Didn't go so well, did it, Lauren?" Lauren's face drained of color faster than a Seattle sky turns gray. We... she stammered, her silver pins trembling against her uniform. "Mr. Caldwell, we didn't know—" "That's the problem," Harper cut in, her tone steady but firm. "You didn't need to know who I am to treat me like a person, but you decided I didn't belong because of this." She tugged at her sweatshirt, the fabric worn soft from years of wear, a gift from her late dad that meant more to her than any designer label. Ethan's hand brushed her back, a subtle anchor, before he turned to the room. "Yesterday my wife flew on our airline," he said, each word deliberate, his gaze sweeping over the stunned faces. "Paid for first class, had a valid ticket, checked twice, by the way. But Lauren and her team here," he nodded toward the trio, who shrank under the weight of his stare, "decided she wasn't good enough, humiliated her, marched her back to economy in front of everyone. Why? Because she didn't look the part." A murmur rippled through the room. Pat cleared her throat, her voice shaky. "Mr. Caldwell, this is news to me. I assure you, it's not our policy." "Not your policy?" Ethan's eyebrow arched, his tone deceptively mild. "Funny, because when Harper dug into it, she found 27 cases just like hers in the last 3 months. Teenagers in hoodies, seniors in sneakers, disabled folks, all flagged, questioned, or moved because they didn't fit. Sound like a one-off to you, Pat?" Pat's hand dropped to the table, her composure cracking. 27? She whispered, her eyes darting to the flight attendants like they'd personally betrayed her. Lauren found her voice. Barely. "Sir, we were following protocol, verifying passengers. The system flagged her seat." "Bullshit," Harper said, the word landing like a slap, casual but cutting. She stepped closer to the podium, her cap shadowing her face. "You didn't ask the guy in 2C for his ID when he wore joggers last month, or the actress in 1A with her sunglasses and ball cap. You picked me because I didn't match your little picture of premium. That's not protocol. That's bias." Miles shifted in his seat, his buzz cut suddenly too short to hide the flush creeping up his neck. "Mrs. Caldwell, we had no way of knowing." "That's the point, Miles," Harper shot back, her eyes locking onto his. "You shouldn't need to know who I'm married to, or how much is in my bank account, to treat me with basic damn respect. I bought that ticket, same as everyone else." Tara looked down at her lap, her fingers twisting her name tag into a knot. Lauren opened her mouth again, but Ethan raised a hand, silencing her cold. "Enough," he said, his voice low but final. "I'm not just here as Harper's husband, though trust me, I'm pissed enough for that. I'm here as the guy who owns this airline, and what I saw yesterday. That's a culture problem. One we're fixing, starting now. A board member, an older guy with a gray suit and a pinched face, cleared his throat. Ethan, maybe we should take this offline. No, Ethan said, his tone brooking no argument. This is what these meetings are for. Harper flew to Philly to see her folks for their 40th anniversary. I told her to take first class, thought it'd be a treat. Instead, she got a master class in judgment. And she's not the only one. He pulled a slim folder from his jacket, dropping it on the table with a soft thud. Those 27 cases? She tracked them down overnight, talked to staff, passengers, dug through complaints you buried as misunderstandings. We're not burying this one. Pat reached for the folder, her hands trembling as she flipped it open. Lauren's eyes darted to Miles and Tara, a silent plea for backup that didn't come. The room buzzed. Whispers, shifting chairs, the weight of a reckoning settling in. Harper adjusted her cap, her voice softening but no less firm. This isn't about me getting even. It's about a system that's broken and people who've been hurt by it. You don't fix that by pretending it didn't happen. Ethan nodded, his hand finding hers for a brief squeeze. We'll get into it. How it went down, what's next. But first, let's rewind 24 hours. SeaTac, yesterday morning. That's where it started. Rewind to 24 hours earlier. How'd Harper end up here, standing in a boardroom with her husband flipping the script on his own airline? It all kicked off at Seattle-Tacoma International, with a ticket, a sweatshirt, and a crew that didn't see her coming. Holy smokes, what a way to kick things off, right? Ethan dropping that bombshell and Harper owning the room. How are you feeling about it? Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. What do you think got her into this mess at the airport? Where are you reading from? Let's unpack this drama together. The morning sun streamed through the massive windows of Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, casting long shadows across the polished floors of Terminal A. The place was alive with the usual airport chaos. Wheels of suitcases clacking against tiles, a garbled voice crackling over the PA about a gate change for Boise, and the sugary scent of Cinnabon wafting from a stand near the escalators. It was a crisp April day in the Pacific Northwest, the kind where the air outside still bit at your nose, but inside the heat was dialed up just enough to make you peel off a layer. Harper Quinn stood near gate A14, her dark gray sweatshirt loose over her athletic frame, light gray sweatpants swishing faintly as she shifted her weight. A black baseball cap hid most of her blonde hair and a simple silver bracelet, her late dad's, handed down through the family, dangled on her wrist. At 34, she moved with a quiet confidence, her hazel eyes scanning the crowd as she sipped a black coffee from a paper cup. Her carry-on, a scuffed-up backpack she'd had since her college days at UW, sat by her feet. No Louis Vuitton luggage for her, thank you very much. She checked her watch. 10:15 a.m. Plenty of time before Apex Airlines Flight 415 to Philadelphia started boarding. Ethan had booked her the ticket, first class, seat 2A, as a little treat for her parents' 40th anniversary. Take a break, Harp, he'd said that morning over oatmeal in their Queen Anne penthouse, his gray eyes crinkling. You've been killing it with the foundation. Let someone else pour your coffee for once. She'd rolled her eyes, but smiled. He knew she'd rather fly commercial than take their private jet. Kept her grounded, connected to the real world she'd grown up in, back in rural Yakima before she'd met him at that tech conference 5 years ago. Black coffee's all I need, she muttered to herself, fishing a couple bucks from her pocket for the barista's tip jar. The kid behind the counter, a lanky guy with a Seahawks beanie, grinned. "Philly, huh? Big plans?" "Family thing," Harper said, dropping the change in with a clink. "Parents' anniversary." "Sweet. Safe flight," he called as she waved and headed off. Gate A14 was a microcosm of humanity. Kids sprawled on the floor with iPads, an older couple sharing a bagel, business types hammering away at laptops like their lives depended on it. Harper loved this part, the messy, beautiful mix of people. Maybe it was the Yakima in her, the small-town girl who'd watched her dad fix tractors and her mom sling hash at a diner, teaching her to see the worth in everyone, no matter their threads. "Now boarding our first-class passengers for Apex Airlines Flight 415 to Philadelphia," the gate agent chirped over the speaker. Harper slung her backpack over one shoulder and joined the short line forming at the priority lane. A guy in a sharp suit ahead of her, gray hair, briefcase that probably cost more than her car, gave her a quick once-over, his eyebrows twitching like he couldn't quite place her. She was used to it. Didn't faze her anymore. "Boarding pass, please," the gate agent said, her smile all customer service polish. Harper pulled up the digital pass on her phone. Apex 415, CPHL, Seat 2A, and handed it over. The scanner beeped green, but the agent's eyes flicked from the screen to Harper's sweatshirt, a tiny pause hanging in the air. "Thanks, Ms. Quinn. Enjoy your flight." Harper nodded and headed down the jet bridge, the cool tunnel air a sharp contrast to the terminal's warmth. She didn't notice the agent's lingering glance, or the storm brewing just ahead. The first-class cabin of Flight 415 was a different world. Wide leather seats in a rich brown stretched out like mini thrones, separated by glossy walnut trays. The overhead lights cast a soft glow, and a flight attendant was already pouring champagne into flutes, the bubbles fizzing like tiny fireworks. Harper stepped aboard, her sneakers silent on the carpet, and flashed a warm smile. "Morning," she said, glancing at her pass. "2A by the window, by the—" Lauren Hayes, the lead flight attendant, looked up from her tray, her practiced smile freezing mid-frame. Her blonde ponytail was pulled so tight it could have doubled as a bungee cord, and her navy uniform hugged her like a second skin, silver pins glinting under the lights. "Good morning," she said, her tone clipped, her blue eyes narrowing as they took in Harper's outfit. "First class is to your left." "Yeah, I know. Thanks," Harper said, unfazed, and moved toward her seat. She felt Lauren's stare trailing her like a spotlight, but she shrugged it off. Same old song and dance. The cabin was half full, a mix of the usual suspects. A businessman in a pinstripe suit flipped through a Forbes magazine. A woman in a sleek blazer scrolled her iPad, and a guy Harper vaguely recognized, some chef from a Food Network show, sipped his champagne like he owned the place. She stowed her backpack in the overhead bin with a practiced ease, years of stuffing duffels into tight spaces kicking in, and slid into 2A, pulling out a dog-eared copy of the Overstory instead of some shiny new gadget. "Excuse me," a voice said, low and firm, cutting through the quiet. Miles Carter, a wiry flight attendant with a buzz cut and a skeptical squint, appeared at her side. "Can I see your boarding pass?" Harper looked up, meeting his gaze. "Sure," she said, pulling her phone from her sweatshirt pocket and opening the pass again. Here you go. Miles took it, holding it like it might bite, and studied it longer than necessary. His eyes flicked from the screen to her sweatpants, then back again. 1 sec, he muttered, turning to confer with Lauren at the front. Harper watched them, catching the quick glances they shot her way. Lauren's lips pursed like she'd tasted something sour. Across the aisle, Jamal Reed, a 17-year-old in a black hoodie, earbuds dangling, slouched in his seat, his mom's first-class ticket burning a hole in his pocket. He caught Lauren's side eye earlier and rolled his eyes, muttering to himself, "Here we go again." A few rows back, Clara Moreno, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a faded denim jacket, watched Harper quietly. She tilted her head, whispering to her husband, "She looks familiar. Think she used to work the skies." Lauren strode over, flanked by Tara Evans, a quieter attendant with dark hair and a nervous vibe. "Ma'am," Lauren started, her voice all professional chill, "there's a little confusion with your boarding pass." Harper set her book down, her patience thinning but her tone steady. "No confusion here? I'm in 2A, first class. It's right there on my pass." Lauren's smile tightened, a crack showing in her polish. "Our system glitches sometimes. This is first class and—" She paused, her eyes raking over Harper's outfit like it was a crime scene. "And you don't think I belong?" Harper finished, her voice flat but direct. "That what you're getting at?" Lauren blinked, a flicker of discomfort crossing her face. "Not at all. We just need to verify. It happens. Upgrades get mixed up." "It's not an upgrade," Harper said, holding up her phone. "I bought this ticket. Checked it at the gate, too. Want to scan it again?" The cabin stirred. The businessman peeked over his magazine. Jamal pulled out an earbud, and Clara leaned forward slightly, her husband nudging her to stay out of it. Miles crossed his arms, his smirk creeping back. "Maybe it's a glitch," he said, shrugging. "Wouldn't be the first time." Tara shifted behind Lauren, her voice barely audible. "She doesn't look like she just ran here," she murmured. But Lauren shot her a look that shut her down fast. Harper took a slow breath, her fingers brushing her bracelet. Her dad's voice echoing in her head. "Don't let him tell you you're not enough, kiddo." "Is there a dress code I missed?" she asked, her tone calm but edged. "'Cause last I checked, a ticket gets you a seat, not a fashion critique." Lauren's jaw tightened, her pins glinting as she squared her shoulders. "No dress code, ma'am, but our first-class passengers usually reflect the experience. Let me get the manager to sort this out. We've got a full flight." Harper's stomach twisted, the first spark of real irritation flaring. She could end this now, drop Ethan's name, watch their faces collapse. But that wasn't her style. She'd never played the billionaire's wife card, and she wasn't starting today. "Fine," she said, leaning back. "Get your manager. But I'm not moving till you prove I don't belong." Lauren nodded sharply, turning to Miles. "Call Greg up here. Now." The smirk on Miles's face grew as he grabbed his radio, and the cabin braced for round 2. The first-class cabin of Apex Airlines Flight 415 felt like a pressure cooker about to pop. The soft hum of the engines outside mingled with the faint clink of champagne glasses and the rustle of a Forbes magazine. But the vibe was anything but relaxed. Harper Quinn sat in seat 2A, her dark gray sweatshirt bunched slightly at the elbows. her light gray sweatpants brushing the leather as she crossed her legs. Her black cap sat low, shadowing her hazel eyes, but her jaw was set tight, her silver bracelet glinting as she gripped her phone. Across from her, Lauren Hayes stood like a gatekeeper, arms crossed, her silver pins shining like badges of a war she thought she'd already won. The air was thick with judgment. Lauren tapped her tablet with a manicured nail, her voice slicing through the quiet. "Look, ma'am, I don't know how you slipped past the gate, but we've got a full flight and this isn't your spot. Manager's on his way. He'll clear it up." Harper's chest tightened, but she kept her cool. She'd seen this playbook before, back when she was a broke grad student, getting side-eye from store clerks who thought she couldn't afford a damn thing. "I didn't slip anywhere," she said, her tone low but steady. "I've shown you my ticket twice now. It says 2A first class. You've got the scan. What's the issue?" Lauren's smirk twitched, her ponytail so tight it looked like it might snap her head back. "The issue? Sometimes the system screws up. Upgrades get funky. Happens more than you'd think with folks trying to sneak up here." She tilted her head, her eyes raking over Harper's sneakers like they were evidence in a trial. "Economy's packed these days. Guess it's tempting." A ripple of reactions spread through the cabin. The businessman across the aisle, pinstripe suit, slicked back gray hair, lowered his magazine just enough to mutter, "Can we move this along? I've got a meeting in Philly." His tone was all Wall Street impatience, his watch flashing as he adjusted it. A few rows back, an older woman in a cream sweater set, pearls choking her neck, clicked her tongue softly. "Poor dear," she whispered to her seatmate, loud enough for Harper to hear, her pity sharper than her sympathy. Harper's fingers brushed her bracelet, her dad's voice echoing in her head. "Don't let 'em box you in, Harp." She squared her shoulders, meeting Lauren's gaze. "I worked hard for this ticket, same as anyone here. Scan it again if you're so sure it's wrong. I'm not budging till you prove it." Lauren's eyes narrowed, a flicker of surprise breaking her mask before she doubled down. "Oh, bless your heart," she said, leaning in just enough to make it personal. "It's not about the ticket, it's about the fit. First class has a vibe, you know. Let's not make this a thing." Miles Carter sidled up, his buzz cut and crossed arms, giving him a bouncer vibe. "Yeah, no offense, lady," he said, his smirk creeping back. "But you look like you're headed to a gym, not Philly in style. Manager'll sort it." The cabin buzzed louder. Jamal Reed, the 17-year-old in the hoodie 2 seats over, pulled out an earbud, his dark eyes flicking between Harper and the crew. He muttered under his breath, "They're wildin'. She's got the ticket. What's the deal?" He slipped his phone from his pocket, thumb hovering over the camera app. Clara Moreno, a few rows back, watched with a frown, her denim jacket rustling as she leaned forward. "She's got that old-school crew vibe," she whispered to her husband. "I'd know it anywhere." Harper's stomach twisted, a mix of anger and embarrassment bubbling up. She could drop Ethan's name right now, 3 little words, and this whole circus would fold. But that wasn't her. She'd clawed her way out of Yakima on her own, built a life before she ever met him. "I know how this works," she said, her voice rising just enough to carry. "You don't need my ID or anyone else's here to see a green scan. So what's the real problem? My sweatshirt?" Lauren's smirk faltered, but she rallied fast. "It's not about the sweatshirt, sweetie. It's about protocol. We can't have just anybody up here without double-checking." She leaned on just anybody like it was a punchline, and the businessman snorted, flipping his magazine back up. That's when Greg Sullivan, the cabin manager, stepped in, his wiry frame dwarfed by the tension he walked into. His Apex cap sat too high on his head, and a sheen of sweat already dotted his brow as he clutched an iPad. "Ma'am," he started, his tone all forced calm. "We've got a glitch here. System's showing a mismatch with your reservation. I'm gonna need you to step off so we can figure it out." The cabin erupted in whispers. The businessman muttered, "About damn time," loud enough to sting. The Pearl Lady whispered, "Such a shame," her voice dripping with fake concern. Jamal's frown deepened, his thumb hitting record as he angled his phone discreetly. Clara's husband nudged her. "Stay out of it, hun." But she shook her head, her eyes locked on Harper. "A mismatch?" Harper repeated, her voice cutting through the noise. "That's funny, 'cause it scanned fine at the gate, and again 5 minutes ago. What's mismatched? My ticket or your idea of who belongs here?" Lauren jumped in, her voice icy. "It's not about ideas, it's about rules. We've got a full flight and people are waiting. Step aside or we're calling security." The word security hit like a brick. The businessman's watch clinked as he leaned back, smirking now. The Pearl Lady's pearls clinked too, her lips pursing like she'd bitten a lemon. Jamal's camera stayed steady, his voice a low hiss. "This is messed up." Clara's frown turned to a scowl, her hands twisting in her lap. Harper's heart pounded, but she didn't flinch. She'd faced worse. Dusty Yakima summers when the bank took their tractor. Nights her dad came home beat from the garage, still smiling for her. This was nothing. "Call whoever you want," she said, her voice steel wrapped in calm. "I've got every right to be here. Prove me wrong." Lauren's eyes flashed, and she spun to Greg. "Get her out, now!" She stepped back, folding her arms like she'd already won. Greg sighed, reaching for his radio with a shaky hand. "Gate team, we've got a situation in first class. Send someone up." The cabin buzzed like a hive, whispers turning to murmurs, a few phones slipping out to snap pics. Harper felt the weight of it all, the stares, the sneers, the way her dad's old sweatshirt made her a target. She touched her bracelet, picturing him in his grease-stained coveralls, telling her, "You're gold under the dust, kid." She wasn't letting these people tarnish that. Tara, the quiet one, hesitated near Lauren, her voice a whisper. "Maybe we should just let her stay. Ticket's green." Lauren shot her a glare that could have melted steel. "Stay out of it, Tara. We've got this." A junior flight attendant, a nervous kid with wide eyes, darted up, clutching a napkin she'd been handed. Ma'am," she mumbled, shoving it at Harper before bolting. Harper unfolded it, scanning the scrawl. "Don't let him push you. You're legit. Jamal, 2C. A spark of warmth cut through the cold, and she glanced at Jamal, catching his quick nod. Greg's radio crackled, a muffled, "On the way," buzzing through. He looked at Harper, almost pleading. "Ma'am, please, let's not drag this out." Harper met his gaze, her jaw tight. "I'm not the one dragging it," she said quietly. "You are." Lauren smirked again, leaning against a seat like she was settling in for the show. "Economy's that way, hun. We'll find you a spot, promise." Her tone was pure venom, and the cabin held its breath, waiting for Harper's next move. She didn't have to wait long. The jet bridge door was still open, and the sound of footsteps, quick, heavy, echoed closer. Harper's pulse raced. She didn't know who was coming, but she knew one thing. She wasn't going down without a fight. The economy cabin of Apex Airlines Flight 415 was a far cry from the plush leather and champagne flutes up front. Harper Quinn sat wedged in a middle seat, 23B, her knees brushing the tray table, her dark gray sweatshirt bunched up against the armrests. The hum of the engines vibrated through the thin cushion, and the air smelled faintly of stale pretzels and recycled oxygen. Her black cap sat low, shadowing her hazel eyes, but they burned with a quiet fire as she stared out the tiny window at the clouds rolling by below. Her backpack was stuffed under the seat, her dog-eared copy of the overstory untouched in her lap. The guy to her left, a beefy dude in a mariner's tee, snored softly, his elbows spilling into her space. To her right, a college kid tapped away at a switch, the beep-beep of Mario Kart cutting through the white noise. Harper barely noticed. Her mind was still up in first class, replaying the sting of Lauren Hayes' smirk, Miles Carter's smug economies that way, and Greg Sullivan's weak, "Let's not drag this out." Her fingers brushed the silver bracelet on her wrist, her dad's old keepsake, and her jaw tightened. She'd held her ground, but they'd still marched her out like she'd crashed the party. The walk down the aisle had been a slow burn. Lauren led the way, her heels clicking like a victory march, while Miles trailed behind, radio in hand. Harper kept her head high, her sneakers silent on the carpet, but she felt the eyes, business class gawking, economy whispering as she passed. Jamal Reed's video was rolling. She'd caught his quick nod from 2C, and Clara Moreno's soft, "I know her," lingered in the air. She didn't look back, but the weight of it all settled in her gut like a stone. Now 30,000 feet over Idaho, Harper pulled out her phone, the screen glowing in the dim cabin. She typed a quick text to Ethan. "They kicked me to economy. Not letting this slide. We need to do something." She hit send, her thumb hovering over the screen as the little "delivered" popped up. She could have called him mid-flight. Wi-Fi was an option, but she needed the quiet to think, to figure out her next move. The college kid glanced over, pausing his game. "Rough day, huh?" he said, nodding at her phone. "Saw you come down from up there. Those crew folks were hardcore." Harper forced a small smile, tucking her phone away. "Yeah, something like that. They didn't like my vibe, I guess." "Vibe?" He snorted, adjusting his glasses. "You've got a ticket, right? What's their deal?" "Wish I knew," she said, her voice low. "Guess I didn't look rich enough for 'em." He shook his head, turning back to his switch. "Lame. You should complain, get some free miles or something." "Thinking bigger than miles?" Harper murmured, her eyes drifting back to the window. Her dad's voice echoed again. "Don't let 'em tell you you're not enough, Harp." And she clenched her fist. This wasn't just about her seat. It was about every kid in a hoodie, every senior in sneakers, everyone who'd ever been sized up and shoved aside. She wasn't letting it end here. The plane touched down in Philadelphia just after 6 p.m., the sky a bruised purple over the tarmac. Harper grabbed her backpack and shuffled off with the economy crowd, her sneakers scuffing the jet bridge. She didn't linger at baggage claim, didn't need to, and headed straight for the pickup lane where her mom, Ruth Quinn, waited in a beat-up Toyota Corolla. The car smelled like cinnamon and old vinyl, the dashboard cluttered with gas station receipts and a half-empty pack of gum. Ruth, a wiry woman in her 60s with gray curls and a faded flannel shirt, pulled Harper into a hug the second she slid into the passenger seat. "There's my girl," she said, her voice rough from years of diner shifts. 40 years with your dad's ghost tonight. Can't believe it." Harper hugged back, the warmth cutting through the day's chill. "Miss him too, Mom. Glad I'm here." Ruth pulled out of the lot, the Corolla rattling as she merged onto I-95. "You look beat, hun. Flight that bad?" Harper sighed, tugging off her cap and running a hand through her hair. "Worse than bad. Got kicked out of first class. Crew thought I didn't belong 'cause of this." She tugged at her sweatshirt, the one her dad gave her before he passed, the one she'd worn running laps with him around their Yakima trailer park. Ruth's eyes narrowed, her grip tightening on the wheel. "Kicked out? For that? What kind of nonsense is that?" "They kept saying it was a glitch," Harper said, her voice tight. "Checked my ticket 3 times, green every scan, but they didn't buy it. Said I didn't fit the vibe. Marched me to economy like I'd snuck in." Ruth's jaw dropped, then snapped shut. "That's bullshit, Harp. You paid for that seat. Ethan paid, I mean. They can't just—" "They did," Harper cut in, staring out at the Philly skyline. "And it's not just me. I heard 'em hassling a kid in a hoodie up there, too. It's their game. Judge you by your threads, not your ticket." Ruth pulled into their driveway, a modest row house in South Philly, the porch sagging, but the windows glowing warm. Inside, the kitchen smelled like apple pie and coffee, a spread laid out for the anniversary dinner. Harper dropped her backpack by the door, sinking into a chair as Ruth poured her a mug. "They're lucky I wasn't there," Ruth said, sliding the coffee over. "I'd have given 'em a piece of my mind. Me and my mop from the old days." Harper chuckled, wrapping her hands around the mug. "Wish you had been. I kept cool, but it stung, Mom. Dad's sweatshirt. It's like they were spitting on him, too." Ruth sat across from her, her eyes softening but fierce. "Your dad'd be pissed, but proud. He always said you were gold under the dust. Didn't need fancy crap to prove it. They think you're not good enough 'cause you're real. Screw 'em. You gotta fight this, Harp. Not just for you, for all the folks they've stepped on." Harper's throat tightened, her mom's words hitting like a spark to dry grass. She nodded, sipping the coffee. "I know. Texted Ethan. He's fired up too. We're not letting it slide." "Good," Ruth said, leaning back. "You two fix it. Make 'em eat their damn vibe." Meanwhile, back in Seattle, Ethan Caldwell gripped the steering wheel of his Tesla, weaving through downtown traffic as the sun dipped behind the Space Needle. His phone buzzed on the passenger seat, Harper's text glowing on the screen. "They kicked me to economy. Not letting this slide. We need to do something." His jaw clenched, his steel blue eyes narrowing. He'd been in a board meeting when it came through. Some merger talk he'd cut short the second he saw her name. The Bluetooth crackled as his sister Vanessa's voice filled the car. "Ethan, you're overreacting," she said, her tone all corporate ice. At 42, Vanessa Caldwell sat on Apex's board, her sharp suits and sharper tongue a fixture in the family. Fire the crew, Lauren, whatever her name is, and her lackeys. Done. Why drag this into tomorrow's review? Ethan's knuckles whitened on the wheel. Firing's easy, Van. Harper doesn't want easy. She wants change. This isn't just about her. It's a pattern. She's digging up more cases right now. Vanessa scoffed, her voice cutting through the hum of the engine. Change? You're too soft, little brother. You bought this airline to run it, not play savior. One call, they're gone. Problem solved. It's not solved if the system's still broken, Ethan shot back, merging onto I-5. Harper's right. This is bigger than 3 idiots. You didn't see her text. She's pissed, but she's thinking. I'm not screwing this up for her. You're screwing it up for us, Vanessa snapped. The board's watching. Don't look weak over this. Ethan's voice dropped, cold and firm. Weak's ignoring it. Strength's fixing it. We're doing it her way. He hung up, the silence heavy as he sped toward home. Harper's fight was his now. Vanessa could shove it. Back in Philly, Harper sat up late, her mom's laptop glowing as she emailed staff contacts from Ethan's network, pulling passenger complaints. By midnight, she had 27 cases, kids, seniors, everyday folks, all judged and pushed aside. She sent them to Ethan with a note. This is why. Let's hit 'em tomorrow. Fast forward to the next morning, Seattle. The boardroom doors swung open, and Harper stepped in. Same sweatshirt, same cap, same fire. Ethan stood, his voice ringing out. This is my wife, Harper Quinn Caldwell. The reckoning had begun. Talk about a pivot. Harper's not taking this lying down, and Ethan's all in. What a team. How are you feeling about her fight picking up steam? Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. What's your guess for the boardroom showdown? Where are you at today? Let's see this take off together. The boardroom at Apex Airlines headquarters in Seattle was a pressure keg ready to blow. Sunlight streamed through the towering windows, glinting off the glass table and painting the Cascade Mountains in sharp relief against a cloudless sky. The air hummed with tension. Leather chairs creaked under shifting suits. A coffee carafe sat untouched in the corner, and the faint buzz of a projector filled the silence between breaths. It was the quarterly customer experience review, but it felt more like a courtroom, and everyone knew it. Harper Quinn Caldwell stood near the head of the table, her dark gray sweatshirt and light gray sweatpants, a stark contrast to the sea of tailored blazers and polished loafers. Her black cap sat low, shadowing her hazel eyes, but they burned with a quiet fury as she faced the room. Ethan Caldwell stood beside her, his navy suit crisp, his steel blue eyes locked on the trio at the back. Lauren Hayes, Miles Carter, and Tara Evans. His hand rested lightly on Harper's shoulder, a steady anchor in the storm they'd just unleashed. Lauren sat rigid, her blonde ponytail taut, her silver pins trembling against her uniform as she clutched her tablet like a shield. Miles slumped slightly, his buzz cut not hiding the flush creeping up his neck, his smirk long gone. Tara twisted her name tag in her fingers, her dark eyes darting between her crewmates and the floor. Around the table, board members and execs watched in stunned silence. Patricia Pat Larson, the chief customer officer, gripped a pen like it might snap, and Vanessa Caldwell, Ethan's sister, leaned back with a scowl, her arms crossed over her silk blouse. Ethan's voice broke the hush, low and steady but heavy as a gavel. So, Lauren was telling us how Apex spots premium travelers, he said, his gaze pinning her like a spotlight. Guess that didn't work out yesterday on Flight 415. Harper, my wife, had a first-class ticket, seat 2A. Paid for, scanned green 3 times. But you didn't spot her, did you? Lauren's face went white, her tablet slipping an inch in her grip. Mr. Caldwell, she stammered, her voice cracking like thin ice. We didn't know. We were just following protocol. The system flagged a mismatch. Cut the crap, Harper said, her tone sharp but calm, slicing through Lauren's excuse like a knife. She stepped forward, hands in her sweatshirt pockets, her silver bracelet catching the light. You didn't care about the system. You checked my ticket, saw it was legit, and still decided I didn't belong because of this. She tugged at her sweatshirt, the worn fabric a badge of honor from her dad. You marched me to economy in front of everyone. That wasn't protocol. That was you. The room sucked in a breath. Pat's pen froze mid-twirl, her auburn bun tilting as she leaned forward. Harper, Mrs. Caldwell, I had no idea this happened, she said, her voice shaky. This isn't how we... Isn't it? Ethan cut in, his tone flat but lethal. He pulled a slim folder from his jacket, dropping it on the table with a thud that echoed. Harper tracked down 27 cases like hers in the last 3 months. Passengers questioned, moved, or humiliated because they didn't fit. Teens in hoodies, seniors in jeans, folks with disabilities, all flagged for no damn reason. You buried those as misunderstandings, Pat. That sound like not how we do things to you. Pat's hand shot to the folder, flipping it open with trembling fingers. 27, she whispered, her eyes scanning the pages. Emails, complaints, timestamps. I didn't know it was this bad. Lauren rallied, her voice rising an octave. Sir, we were protecting first class. It's our job to keep it exclusive. Premium travelers expect that. We had no way of knowing she was your wife. Exactly, Harper snapped, her eyes locking onto Lauren's. You shouldn't need to know who I'm married to, or what's in my bank account, to treat me like a human being. I bought that seat. Same as the guy in 2C you didn't blink at when he wore joggers last month. Or the actress in 1A with her ball cap. You picked me because I didn't match your little picture of premium. That's not a job. That's bias. Miles shifted, his flush deepening. Mrs. Caldwell, we weren't trying to... Look, it's a busy flight. Things get messy. Messy? Harper's voice rose, cutting him off. You humiliated me in front of a full plane, paraded me down the aisle like I'd stolen something. You think that's messy? That's a choice. And I wasn't the only one. There was a kid in a hoodie you eyed up too. Don't pretend this is some one-off. Tara finally spoke, her voice a whisper. We didn't mean it like that. I didn't want to push it, but Lauren said, Shut it, Tara, Lauren hissed, her composure cracking. She turned back to Ethan, desperation creeping in. Mr. Caldwell, we've got the best satisfaction scores in first class, 92%. We're trained to spot trouble, keep the vibe right. This was a mistake. A mistake? Ethan's eyebrow arched, and Tara flinched like she'd been zapped. You've got a green ticket, a paying passenger, and you still haul her out because she doesn't vibe? That's not a mistake. That's a culture, one I'm done with. Vanessa Caldwell leaned forward, her voice cold and clipped. Ethan, let's not blow this out of proportion. Fire them. Lauren, Miles, Tara, call it a day. No need to turn this into a crusade over one flight. Ethan's gaze snapped to her, his jaw tight. It's not one flight, Van. It's 27. And that's just what Harper found in one night. Firing them's a Band-Aid. Harper's not here for that. She's here to fix it. Vanessa's scowl deepened, her arms tightening across her chest. You're letting her run this? You're the owner. Act like it. I am, Ethan shot back, his tone steel. And I'm backing my wife. You want to talk proportion? How's this? A video's already out there, at Apex Bias. Thousands of views. People saw what happened. We fix this now, or it's our ass. A murmur rippled through the room. Pat's pen hit the table with a clatter. A video? She croaked, her face paling. How did... Kid in 2C, Harper said, her voice steady. Jamal Reed, 17, hoodie, first-class ticket from his mom. You gave him the stink eye too, Lauren. He filmed it. Whole damn thing. It's trending. Lauren's tablet hit the table with a thud, her hands shaking. I didn't mean. Didn't mean what? Harper pressed, stepping closer. To make him feel small too? I talked to staff last night. Heard about a teen questioned 3 times for his business class seat. A disabled guy redirected from priority boarding. An old lady kicked from the lounge in sweats. 27 cases, Lauren. You're not protecting anything. You're gatekeeping. Miles's head dropped, his hands rubbing his face. Tara's eyes welled up, her voice barely audible. I told them to stop, but Lauren said it was protocol. Lauren spun on her, fury flashing. Don't you dare pin this on me. We've got a job to do, standards to keep. Enough, Ethan said, his voice dropping like a hammer, silencing the room. He turned to the trio, his gaze unyielding. Your standards suck. Starting next week, Apex rolls out anti-bias training. Every customer-facing employee, you 3. 1 month with the advocacy team, hearing complaints firsthand. Another month in economy, serving, not judging. After that, if you've learned a damn thing, you can reapply for first class. Lauren swayed, grabbing a chair for support. Mr. Caldwell, you can't. This is my career. Your career's still breathing, Ethan said, his tone icy. I could fire you, most would, but Harper's right. This isn't about punishment. It's about fixing what's broken. You've got a chance to prove you get it. Vanessa snorted, loud enough to turn heads. This is a mistake, Ethan. You're coddling them. Board's gonna eat you alive. Let 'em try, Ethan said, his eyes never leaving Lauren. I'd rather lose a fight than a chance to make this right. Pat found her voice, shaky but firm. I'll oversee it. Training, feedback system, all of it. Mrs. Caldwell, we owe you an apology. This shouldn't have happened. Harper nodded, her voice softening, but resolute. It's not just me you owe. It's every passenger in that folder, and the ones who didn't complain. I didn't dig this up for an apology. I did it 'cause my dad taught me no one's less human 'cause of how they look. You got a shot to prove that, too. The room fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in. Lauren's shoulders slumped, Miles stared at the floor, and Tara wiped her eyes. Vanessa muttered something under her breath to Pat. He's lost it. But Ethan and Harper stood tall, a united front against the storm. Man, that was a gut punch. Lauren scrambling, Ethan's laying down the law, and Harper's not letting up. What a showdown. What do you think's next for this crew? On Team Harper? Smash that subscribe button and drop a comment. Tell me who's got your vote and where you're tuning in from. Let's see how this lands. The first-class cabin of Apex Airlines Flight 923 from Seattle to Los Angeles glowed with the soft warmth of a late July afternoon. Sunlight streamed through the oval windows, bouncing off the polished walnut trays and casting long shadows across the wide leather seats. The faint hum of the engines blended with the clink of ice in glasses, and the air carried a mix of fresh coffee and the buttery scent of warm cookies wafting from the galley. Harper Quinn. Caldwell settled into seat 2A, her dark gray sweatshirt soft against the cushion, her light gray sweatpants brushing the carpet as she stretched out her legs. She'd ditched her black cap on the armrest, letting her blonde hair fall loose, and the silver bracelet, her dad's old keepsake, glinted on her wrist as she flipped open her worn copy of the Overstory. 3 months had passed since the boardroom showdown, and this trip, a quick hop to L.A. for a climate research meeting, was her first time back in first class since. She'd picked 2A again, not for the comfort, but to test the waters, to see if the fire she'd lit had burned into something real. The cabin felt different, less stiff, more alive. A college kid in a tie-dye tee scrolled TikTok a few rows up. A woman in a sundress sipped a mimosa. An older guy in a faded Seahawks cap read a paperback. No one seemed to care who fit, and Harper's chest loosened, a quiet hope flickering under her ribs. Her phone buzzed in her sweatshirt pocket, Ethan's name lighting up the screen. Flight good so far? Told you we'd flip this place upside down. Proud of you, Harp. She smiled, typing back. So far, so good. Cruise chill. Miss you too. She hit send, her thumb lingering as she glanced around, soaking it in. Mrs. Caldwell, a voice said, soft but steady. Harper looked up to see Tara Evans standing there, her dark hair pulled into a loose ponytail, her navy uniform crisp, but her vibe relaxed. A tray of waters balanced in her hands, and her eyes held a warmth that hadn't been there before. "Hey, Tara," Harper said, setting her book down. "Didn't expect to see you back up here." Tara nodded, handing her a water with a small smile. "Just got cleared last week. Passed the review after advocacy and economy. Feels good to be back, but different." "Different how?" Harper asked, taking the bottle. Her curiosity piqued. Tara paused, her fingers brushing the tray. "Realer, I guess. Economy changed me. Middle seats, spilled coffee, folks just trying to get by. Made me see what I missed before. We're not gatekeepers now. Just here to help." Harper's heart lifted, a spark of pride she hadn't expected. "That's the win I was after. Everyone getting a fair shake." "Morning, ma'am," a louder voice cut in, and Miles Carter rolled up with the beverage cart, his buzz cut gleaming, his grin dialed down from cocky to genuine. "Mrs. Caldwell, coffee, juice, something to kick off the flight?" "Coffee's good," Harper said, catching his eye. "You're looking settled up here." Miles poured her a cup, black, steaming, his movements smoother than she remembered. "Took a minute," he said, shrugging. "Advocacy was a gut punch. Those complaints. Man, people notice everything. Economy was wild. Crying babies, no elbow room. But it stuck. I don't play spot the rich guy anymore." Harper sipped the coffee, the heat grounding her. Good. That's what matters. Seeing the person, not the outfit. Learned it the hard way, Miles said, a dry laugh escaping. You flipped us good. Worth it, though. He moved off, offering the Seahawks guy a juice with the same easy vibe, no judgment in sight. The plane taxied out, the engines rumbling as it lifted off over Puget Sound, the Seattle skyline shrinking below. Harper's phone buzzed again. Ethan. Oh, forgot to mention that advisor gig. Been cooking it up since last year. You were always the fix, Harp. Just needed the right spark. Her breath caught, her fingers tightening around the cup. Advisor gig? Before Philly? She typed fast. Hold up. You planned that way back? His reply popped up quick. Yup. Saw you running the foundation. Knew you'd kill it here. That flight was the push. Look at you now, babe. Harper stared at the screen, her throat tightening as a wave of emotion hit. 3 months ago, she'd been humiliated in this seat. Lauren's smirk, Miles's jab, the march to economy burning in her memory. She'd fought back, dug up 27 cases, turned a viral video from Jamal into a reckoning, and Ethan had seen it coming. Had her pegged as the heart of Apex's shift before she'd even stepped on that plane. A tear slipped free, and she swiped it away with her sleeve, a shaky laugh breaking through. You sneaky son of a gun, she muttered, pocketing the phone. A shadow loomed, and she looked up to see Lauren Hayes, her ponytail still tight, but her face softer, less armored. Mrs. Caldwell, Lauren said, her voice steady but tinged with something new. Humility, maybe. Cookie? Just out of the oven. Oatmeal raisin. Sure, Harper said, taking one, the warmth seeping into her fingers. You're leading today? Lauren set the tray down, nodding. Back in charge. Cleared last month. Took me longer than Miles and Tara. Had more to unpack, I guess. Unpack how? Harper asked, biting into the cookie, her eyes locked on Lauren's. Lauren's gaze dropped to the tray, then lifted, meeting Harper's with a raw honesty. Everything. Advocacy was brutal. Those calls, those stories, hit me hard. Economy was worse. Spilled juice, cranky passengers, no buffer. I used to think I was protecting something up here. Turns out I was just pushing people out. Your folder, those 27 cases, they stuck with me. Kept me going. Harper swallowed, the sweetness fading as a lump rose instead. That's why I did it. Not to tear you down, to lift this place up. Looks like it worked. More than worked, Lauren said, her voice dropping. Satisfaction's at 95%, highest in years. Training's company-wide now. Check-in, gates, even the execs. Delta's sniffing around, United too. You didn't just change us, you changed the game. The seatbelt sign dinged off, and Harper leaned back, the cabin settling into a gentle hum. She glanced around, tie-dye kid laughing at his phone, sundress lady chatting with the Seahawks guy, Miles pouring Tara a coffee in the galley like old pals. It wasn't just the crew, it was the air, the ease, the lack of invisible lines. Her dad's voice rang in her head. Gold under the dust, Harp. And she felt him here, in the fight she'd won not just for herself, but for every passenger who'd been sized up and shoved aside. Tara said something yesterday, Lauren added, lingering by the seat. Said you reminded her of her mom. Worked hard, never flashed it. She's right. You could have buried us, most would have. Thanks for not. Harper's eyes softened, a smile breaking through. Wasn't about burying. It was about building. My dad taught me that. Keep it going, Lauren. Lauren nodded, a flicker of gratitude in her eyes. We will. She moved off, serving the kid and the lady with the same care. No vibe checks, no gatekeeping, just service. Harper's phone buzzed one last time. Ethan. You're my rock, Harp. Always will be. She typed back. Same sneaky. We're a hell of a team. She pocketed it, her coffee cooling as she looked out at the clouds. Apex was climbing. Satisfaction up, complaints down, morale high. Other airlines were watching, copying, and her folder of 27 had grown into a blueprint. Ethan's advisor pitch, she'd taken it. Part-time, tweaking Apex from the inside, her way. The plane banked over the Sierras, the patchwork below stretching wide, fields, towns, lives crossing paths. Harper bit into the cookie again, the oatmeal raisin a quiet nod to her dad's memory. She'd started this for him, for her own dignity, but it had become something more. A promise carved into Apex. Respect wasn't a look, it was a right. And as the cabin hummed around her, diverse, equal, human, she knew it was just the beginning. What a way to land this, right? Harper's fight turned Apex around, and Ethan's sneaky plan sealed it. How's that feel? Miles, Tara, Lauren stepping up, and Harper shining. What's your vibe? Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and drop a comment. Favorite twist? Ever fought for something like Harper? Share this with someone who'd love it, and tell me where you're at. I want to see this story fly high with you. 6 months after the showdown at Apex Airlines headquarters, the crisp October air swept through San Francisco International Airport as Harper Quinn Caldwell stepped into Terminal 2. The morning buzz was in full swing, travelers hauling roller bags, a barista hollering orders over the hiss of an espresso machine, and the faint twang of a busker's guitar drifting from the arrivals hall. Harper adjusted her black cap, her blonde hair tucked loose underneath, her dark gray sweatshirt and light gray sweatpants as familiar as ever. Her silver bracelet, her dad's old gift, caught the light as she checked her phone. Apex Airlines Flight 617, SFO to Dien, Seat 2A. A quick trip to Denver for a climate research symposium. But she'd opted for first class again, not for the perks, but to see if the change she'd fought for stuck. She grabbed a black coffee from a kiosk. Keep the change, she told the barista, slipping a couple bucks into the tip jar, and headed for gate 54. The terminal was a kaleidoscope of humanity, tech bros in hoodies, retirees in sensible sneakers, a mom juggling a toddler in a stroller. Harper smiled to herself. It was why she still flew commercial, even with Ethan's jet on standby. It kept her tethered to the world she'd grown up in. Dusty Yakima trailers, her mom's diner shifts, her dad's grease-stained lessons about worth beyond wealth. Now boarding first-class passengers for Apex Airlines Flight 617 to Denver. The gate agent's voice crackled over the speaker. Harper joined the priority line, her scuffed backpack slung over one shoulder. A guy in a Patagonia fleece ahead of her glanced back, no double-take this time, just a nod, like she belonged. She handed her phone to the agent, the scan beeping green. "Enjoy your flight, Miss Quinn," the woman said, her smile genuine, no flicker of doubt. Harper nodded and headed down the jet bridge, a quiet hum of anticipation in her chest. The first-class cabin of Flight 6117 gleamed with the same polish she remembered. Wide leather seats, walnut trays, a soft glow from the overheads. But the air felt lighter, less stiff. A flight attendant, new face, young, with a buzzed head like Miles, offered her a warm, morning welcome aboard as she stepped in. Harper slid into 2A, stowing her backpack and pulling out the overstory, its pages even more worn now. She glanced around. Diverse crowd today. A woman in a hijab scrolling her phone, a guy in cargo shorts sipping orange juice, a kid in a Pokemon tee bouncing in his seat. No vibe checks, no side eye. It felt right. Mrs. Caldwell, a voice said, tentative but familiar. Harper looked up to see Tara Evans standing there, her dark hair loose, her navy uniform crisp, but her posture softer than before. "Didn't expect to see you here." Harper smiled, setting her book down. "Hey, Tara. Denver trip. Work stuff. You're back in first class?" Tara nodded, a faint blush creeping up her cheeks. "Yeah, just last week. Passed the review after advocacy and economy. Took a while to get it, but it's different now." "Different how?" Harper asked, leaning forward. Tara hesitated, then smiled. A real one, not the nervous twitch from months ago. "Better. We're not guessing who belongs anymore, just serving. Training helped, but economy really did it. You see people, not just seats." Harper's chest warmed, a flicker of pride she didn't expect. "That's good to hear. Everyone deserves that." "Morning, folks!" A louder voice cut in, and Miles Carter appeared, pushing the beverage cart with a grin. His buzz cut gleamed under the lights, his energy dialed down from cocky to confident. "Mrs. Caldwell, good to see you again. Coffee, water, something stronger?" "Coffee's fine," Harper said, catching his eye. "You're looking at home up here." Miles poured her a cup, black and steaming, and shrugged. "Took some lumps to get back. Advocacy was brutal, economy was chaos, but it stuck. I don't size people up anymore. Learned that the hard way." Harper took the coffee, the heat seeping through the cup. "Hard way's the best way sometimes." "Tell me about it," Miles said, chuckling. He moved off, offering drinks to the Pokemon kid and the cargo shorts guy with the same easy vibe. Harper sipped, the bitterness grounding her as she watched. The plane taxied out, engines roaring as it lifted off over the bay, the Golden Gate Bridge shrinking below. Harper's phone buzzed, a text from Ethan. "Heard you're flying today. How's our crew doing? Miss you, Harp." She typed back, "They're solid. Changed. Miss you too. Denver's quick. Home tomorrow." A shadow fell over her again, and she looked up to see Lauren Hayes, her ponytail still tight, but her face softer, less guarded. "Mrs. Caldwell," Lauren said, her voice steady, but tinged with something. Respect, maybe. "Cookie? Fresh batch." "Sure," Harper said, taking one. Oatmeal raisin, warm and chewy. "You're running the show today?" Lauren nodded, setting the tray down. "Lead again. Got cleared last month. Took me longer than Miles and Tara. Had more to unlearn, I guess." Harper bit into the cookie, studying her. "How'd it go? The reassignment?" Lauren's eyes dropped for a second, then met Harper's. "Rough. Advocacy was a wake-up. Complaints hit different when you're the one fixing them. Economy, humbling as hell. Middle seats, spills, no breaks. but it worked. I see people now, not just their clothes. Took your folder to heart. Those 27 cases. They're why I'm still here. Harper swallowed, a lump rising she didn't expect. That's all I wanted. Not to break you, to build something better. You did, Lauren said, her voice low. Apex is trending up. Satisfaction's at 95% now. Other airlines are sniffing around our training. You kicked off something big. The seatbelt sign dinged off, and a new passenger shuffled in from the jet bridge. A late boarder, a teenage girl in a thrift store jacket and scuffed Converse, clutching a first-class ticket. She hesitated at 3A, and Tara stepped up, smiling. Right here, hun. Let me grab your bag. No questions, no glances, just help. The girl grinned, settling in, and Harper's heart swelled. This was it. The ripple she'd started, spreading wide. Her phone buzzed again. Ethan. Knew you'd see it. You're my compass, Harp. Always pointing true. See you tomorrow. She typed back. You're mine, too. Can't wait. Across the aisle, Jamal Reed, same hoodie, same earbuds, caught her eye and waved. Hey, Mrs. C, back at it, huh? He called, grinning. Mom's got me flying again. Says it's safer now. Harper laughed, waving back. Good to see you, Jamal. Your video lit the fuse, changed everything. He shrugged, popping an earbud in. Just hit record, your move, lady. The plane leveled off, cruising over the Sierra Nevada, and Harper leaned back, her coffee cooling in her hand. Clara Moreno's words from that first flight echoed. She's old-school crew, and she thought of her dad, his gravelly laugh, his faith in her grit. She'd turned a sweatshirt into a statement, a fight into a fix, not just for her, but for Jamal, for the girl in 3A, for every passenger Apex flew. Satisfaction was up, morale was high, and the industry was watching. Delta's rep had called last week. United was next. Her folder of 27 had grown into a playbook, and Ethan's sneaky advisor pitch. She'd taken it, part-time, shaping Apex from the inside. Lauren paused by her seat again, her voice soft. You're why we're better, Mrs. Caldwell. Not just the training, you. Thanks for not giving up. Harper met her gaze, her smile real. Wasn't about giving up. It was about giving everyone a shot. Keep it up, Lauren. As the plane soared toward Denver, Harper looked out at the patchwork below. Fields, towns, lives crossing paths. She'd started this for her dad's memory, for her own dignity, but it had become a legacy. Respect wasn't a privilege, it was a promise. And it was spreading, maybe beyond Apex, maybe beyond her. She'd see. What a journey, huh? Harper's ripples turning into a wave. How'd that hit you? Miles, Tara, Lauren stepping up, Jamal back in the mix. Love a good comeback? Hit subscribe, tap that bell, and drop a comment. What's your takeaway? Ever sparked a change like Harper? Share this with someone who'd get it, and tell me where you're flying from. I want to see this story lift off with you.